After months of bad press and very near misses and scary mishaps, the CEO of Boeing, David Calhoun, and other executives are stepping down in what is likely an attempt at just damage control. Just fix your doors, bro. You could stay, but fix things. Anyway, they're leaving. That's right. Stan Deal, president and CEO of Boeing's commercial airplanes unit, will retire immediately as well. Stephanie Pope, the company's chief operating officer for less than 3 months, has taken over leadership of the key division. Let's go, Steph. The company said board chairman Lawrence Kellner, a former airline chief, won't stand for re-election in May, and he's going to be replaced by a former Qualcomm CEO. That guy is Stephen Mollenkopf to replace the new board chairman, and he's going to lead the search for a new Calhoun. So, corporate speak, me no speak, corporate speak. They're all just shuffling the deck on their busted planes, but here we go. Boeing obviously has been under intense pressure since early January when that plane door or plane sighting blew off a brand new Alaska Airlines 737 MAX, Investigators say the bolts that helped keep the panel in place were missing after repair work at the Boeing factory. An FAA audit of Boeing's 737's factory near Seattle gave the company failing grades on nearly 3 dozen aspects of production. I mean, we're talking about like only 25% of the air masks might actually give you oxygen were they to drop. Just like, cool, I'll walk. Last week, the FBI also announced that they're opening a criminal investigation and that passengers who were on that flight that I spoke about might actually be victims of a crime. In a letter to staff, David Calhoun, of course, had these parting words. As you all know, the Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 accident was a watershed moment for Boeing. It wasn't those other 2 crashes in 2018, 2019. We must continue to respond to this accident with humility and complete transparency. We must inculcate a total commitment to safety and quality at every level of our company. Again, ironically, Calhoun was appointed to after those 2 crashes that I just briefly mentioned in the wake of those airline disasters, also involving a 737 MAX when they had software malfunction. That was Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines 2018 and 2019, killed 346 people after their Boeing software system failed, and the pilots were improperly trained on them, didn't know it was going to automatically take over. Just terrifying stuff. It's crazy that it took an accident in the United States that claimed no lives when 346 people back in 2018, 2019, and they gave us Calhoun. Now we're gonna get some new suit, but what's the actual problem? Like, meanwhile, we're still shelling out money. They're still charging for bags. Their flights are still late and missing. Wheels are falling off of Boeing's. Like, I think we might be missing the actual problem here.
Well, we're not missing the problem, Fran. It's that how do we address a problem that is so foundational to so many of the things that ail our society right now, which is this idea that we need to financialize and profit maximization, or more importantly, stock price maximization of every single business and entity in existence. And guess what? When those people died abroad, it wasn't a money loser. But because this thing blew up in a way that became so public and was a PR nightmare, now it's time for heads to roll. Because guess what, man? Like, so long as you're keeping the shareholders happy, nothing else matters. Literally, nothing else ever matters so long as the freaking shareholders are happy. It's been well documented that as soon as they did that freaking corporate merger and they became way more a company about penny pinching, cutting corners, squeezing every single dime out of it, and making performance and quality a secondary concern, everything started to nosedive. But again, when your only goal is to squeeze every dime out, no matter what, So long as you escape some level of legal culpability in anything that comes out of that, these are the results. How we
Yeah.
change that, I find it, I don't know. Like, it's nice that some actual heads rolled, that like, yes, the freaking Joker who presided over a freaking door blowing off a plane mid, ascension, doesn't get to run the company anymore. I guess that's a step in the right direction, but I have a hard time believing that the culture of this company and the sort of processes that sort of produce these outcomes is going to dramatically change.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of what, when you learn about a capitalist critique of the economy, you always study the Pinto example, right? That the Ford Pinto, if it was rear-ended in the right way, would explode. And it was cheaper for the company to keep that car on the road, no matter all of the people who were gonna die because of it, because then recall the whole thing. It's the same thing with Boeing planes. And yeah, they suffered some legal ramifications in 2021, but $2.5 billion they had to play out to settle criminal charges. But let me ask you, does this company not then relinquish the right to build airplanes, to have us in their airplanes? Like, the FAA has a larger role to play. I feel this way about private healthcare. I think that the private healthcare industry has relinquished the right and should be taken over by the government, by the federal government, because they have lost all credibility in this field where they consistently put profits over people and allow people to die. The same with Boeing. But again, 2.5 billion, yeah, I guess that's kind of I guess you had to rent, you had to, Airbnb your summer home for a month or something. You had to rent it out. Like, it's nothing, it's a drop in the bucket. All that to say, I also think workers have a role to play here. They may be going on strike as they renegotiate a contract this summer. That's gonna be crucial, and it's gonna be crucial for all of us to remember as we're being gaslit by the media and by everyone saying, wow, these Boeing workers, they're the ones that didn't screw on the door right. BS, man, BS. It was a corporate decision, it came from the top down. Pay these workers, make sure that they are given all the equipment that they need, and they don't do, they aren't push through the door to speed up the assembly line and cut corners, which is again potentially killing us.
Yeah, I mean, what you're talking about is, if we make Boeing a state-run enterprise, the only entity that could actually take that over, we know why that would never happen, because of course, the United States
it's not
doing
Chinese.
That would set the precedent abroad, where a lot of these American businessmen own companies abroad, and that would just be like, oh, these other countries can take over our stuff. Right. It's our job to exploit the resources of others. State actors be damned. We can't have America being a shining example of state-ran entities being the better option. We can't possibly do that. But yes, I guess we'll all be paying attention to what happens with Boeing, because again, I can't stress this enough. I'm highly skeptical of the idea that going along business as usual. You look into all the freaking stock buyback plans that these fools did, instead of reinvestment in the product, in research and development, into making this thing better, safer, faster, stronger. That's been the culture of the company. And the people who own it, the major shareholders, they like that system. They like the system where the product gets worse and they get richer. So right. I have a hard time believing that anything will stop that train.
Yeah, same. Unless Pete Buttigieg has something to say about that. Help us, Pete.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.